So Hayden Deegan is really revolutionizing supercross and motocross because of what he is bringing to the sport, which is a different type of mentality. And I really believe his dad, and it really taught him well when it comes to branding and the mentality and understanding what the fans really want, right? Because at the end of the day, this sport is only for the fans, right? Because without the fans, you don't have a sport. So, how do you get the fans to love the sport more than anything? Well, one way you could do it is by giving them a reason to watch. Rather, if it's like, for example, people can say Deegan has a lot of haters and a lot of fans, right? Well, let's say I'm a hater and I want to see Deegan lose. Well, that gives me a reason to watch, right? So, it could be he could say, oh, he's arrogant or he's cocky and he's this and he's that. But to me, that's more of his personality. It's more of a character, right, in this whole thing to get people to understand where he's coming from, right? Because if you look at Supercross, a lot of it is just too plain Jane, right? You get the guys like, for example, they get up there. I'm not going to name names, but like for example, the 250 panel, and they're asking them questions in a press conference, and they're just very quiet and very mellow and chill and kind of boring and generic, right? And now, granted, we're not trying to say bring it to like the UFC where I'm gonna kick your ass and you're gonna be, blah 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 blah, right? And it gives people a lot of, what we call hype, right? Remember, these kids are young, right? You're talking 18, 19, 20. They're pretty young, right? So they're not like seasoned 27-year-old hardcore fighters, right? But what I think the Deegans are trying to say is we're we're trying to elevate the sport, right? And we should respect them for doing so because the sport is never going to change. It's never going to grow unless we give it a reason to grow. And I think the Deegans are coming in thinking, okay, well, how can we do this? Well, they just had a YouTube channel prior to his pro debut, right? It's been going on a while because they understand the social media um, generation where it's really generating a lot of people's anticipation because it's really about anticipation, right? Like for example, A1 comes around, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait, and it's the anticipation of A1. And then once A1 happens, it's like, what just happened, right? It was more of the anticipation than anything. So the YouTube channel, right, is one piece of it. Getting people, letting people into the Deegan's lives, like, hey, this is what we're about. This is how we think. This is what we do. Love us or hate us. This is what it is, right? And then after his social media, whatever, he comes in, and I was there, Anaheim, for his first ever futures race. And I thought he did well. I thought he rode well. I didn't think he was going to be at this level. I thought he was going to be great. I knew I saw it, but I didn't know he was going to be this great. Like, holy, that he really elevated himself into a what we call a phenom, right? A phenom. So he's definitely in that category now, especially over the last year and a half, 2 years, has really showed everyone what it's about. And I think that comes from his mentality, right? And his dogness. Like he's a pit bull, and he's biting the rope, and he's not letting go, and he's biting harder and harder and harder. And I think the pressure actually helps him. Where if you look at a guy like, and I'm not picking on these guys, I think they're great guys, but I'll just give you an example. Like, you have like Ryder D, or say Levi Kitchen or Joe Shimoda, which are great guys and they're awesome racers, all that stuff. But they're a little bit too nice. They're a little bit too goody two shoe, as Deegan would like to say, right? Brian. So if what I think the Deegans are trying to emphasize is if you look at the UFC, we're not trying to be like them, right? But we want a little bit of spunk. We want a little bit of trash talk, even if it's um, being generated to get people to watch, right? Where most of the fans, they know, well, we're getting hyped up. But I think a lot of these writers, they don't want that added pressure. They don't want to go down that road, and they don't want to deal with what comes with the trash talk and with the mentality. And you say, oh, that has no room for this sport. But it's not like the UFC. It's more so like, you know, because look, at the end of the day, for example, right now it's all about Deegan versus Jet, right? And we're coming into motocross with all of this anticipation, and all of it is being built by Deegan because of the media narrative, and the media narrative is only uh, saying what they're saying is because of how Deegan presents it, right? He's presenting it in a certain way, right? His alpha sort of dog mentality, like the new beast mode, you can say, right? And he's not taking any he's not taking any crap from anybody, right? So, love him or hate him, he's generating a lot of fans for the sport, and he's a personality, he's a character, he's somebody like you instantly know who he is just by the way he is, right? Where a lot of other writers, you just really don't know their personality. You don't they kind of say the things, the generic, oh yeah, I'm on the test track, we're trying this, we're doing that. And you kind of hear them, but you don't really know their personality. You don't really know, like, give me a reason to root for you, right? Or give me a reason to, make me not root for you. Give me a reason to do something. I think what it is also is these guys have all these sponsorships, and they don't want to piss off their sponsors, and they got to look like the perfect poster child for their sponsors. So they're all nice and they're all kind, and it's fine, but it's not fine because um you're basically, we can't tell the writers apart. We want different personalities, and that's why I think Deegan is special, because he is completely the opposite of those other guys, right? But if he didn't have the skill or the talent, maybe he wouldn't be so hardcore. But you know, the reason he's so good is because he backs it up, right? And a lot of it has to do with his mentality. So I just want to see, like, for example, I want to see Eli Tomac. Like, he's so nice, and he's a class act and all this stuff. But, and he has a lot of fans, and he doesn't need any of that, right? He generated fans more than any writer throughout the years because of what he's been able to do. And that is the psychology of winning, different from Jet. For example, uh, you know, Eli comes out and he gets a bad start, and then he's buried in 15th place, and then we instantly count him out. He's the underdog, right? And then all of a sudden he gets to 8th place, 7th place, and then you have 5 minutes left and he's get to 3rd place, and then you have 2 laps left and he's moving his way into first. And like, how did he do that? Right? Like, where did that come from? That's what we call beast mode. It's a different psychological way of how we perceive these guys, right? So it's all in the head. It's all in the head. So, if you compare that to somebody like Jet Lawrence or something, you know, where he pulls the whole shot and he wins the race every time. So it's like, oh, we call him an alien, right? He's just, and it's boring. It's kind of boring. And he completely dominated, right? Pull the whole shot, win. Pull the whole shot, win. Pull the whole shot, win. Like every time. So it kind of gets like, okay, well, give me another reason to watch. Well, now we have Deegan, right? This is the reason to watch. And going back to Eli for a second, that again, that's why he generated so many fans, is because how he made the fans feel. It's all about how we feel watching the race. If I watch, 22 guys battle each other, they're going to, depending on what happens in the race, it's going to generate feelings, right? The fans are going to feel certain things. I'll give you an example. One of Jet Lawrence's biggest races of his life was, so this race right here, where he was racing Dylan Ferrandis, this is the one of his biggest races of his life, and he lost. But it was all about how he made the fans feel, right? He was battling. He was the underdog. He was coming from behind, and watch what happens. He goes right, bam, right into the triple. It was really a heartbreak, but he raced his heart out. That was the point, right? He never gave up. He raced his heart out, and it was actually kind of like a bittersweet moment for him where it sucked that he crashed and he got hurt, but at the same time, so that was a psychological way he made people feel like I was rooting for him, and I didn't even know who the guy really. I mean, I followed him, but it wasn't really totally on my radar until that race. When I saw that race, I was like, wow, this guy was really pushing it to the limit, and that earned a lot of respect. So, but now when you see him race, he pulls the whole shot, wins, pulls the whole shot, wins, and it's kind of boring. But and that's why I think Eli has a lot more fans because of what he's been able to do over the years. He's raced a long time. That's one reason, but the other reason is because he's usually from an underdog approach, right? We all know how he is in the outdoors, but a lot of those outdoor races he came from behind. And that's what I think the Deegans really understand is making the show worth it, right? Where like when we saw the SMX battle, Deegan had nothing to lose, right? And he talks about, well, Joe hit him a couple times the year before that or something like that, and nobody talked about that. And then when Deegan did it, it was just because that's who he is, right? And that's his mentality, and that was whatever complaint they want to complain about. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was exciting to watch, right? And that's the point. And the Deegans understand marketing, branding, getting people excited, right? So the whole Jet Lawrence thing, look, the media wants us to think, oh, they hate each other. The two camps hate each other. They don't like each other. I don't think so. I think it's more like, if anything, Jet doesn't like the Deegan camp, right? But I think Deegans do like the Jet camp in and not like I like you, but like in a respect way. Like, dude, who's the king right now? Let's just be honest. It's Jet Lawrence. Jet Lawrence is the king of dirt bikes at this moment, right? Well, maybe not right this moment with his foot and all that, but we'll get into that. But he is the king right now. So Deegan understands that, and he wants the crown. So he's going to push, he's going to poke, he's going to pull, he's going to do whatever it takes to get Jet off his rocker, right? And he's going to try to get into his head and all that. But that's also part of the show, right? Because you have two things. You have what's being perceived on television and social media, and also the feelings of what they're feeling compared to each other on their approach on how to beat the other guy, right? Because Jet's going in there just trying to defend what he has. Deegan's going in there to trying to prove, what he has, right? And my best advice is, for Deegan comes out and says, I just want to prove people wrong. I want to prove people wrong. And I love it. I love it. But, don't do it because you want to prove people wrong. Do it because you want to prove yourself right. Because if you want to prove people wrong, then you're working for those people, right? Because let's say you do prove them wrong. They're going to give another excuse. Well, he had his foot and his foot was hurting and that's why. Or they're always going to make excuses, right? Because, haters are going to hate, right? No matter how much you prove to them, they're going to hate. So you might as well quit trying to prove them anything. Instead, prove yourself right. And I think that's what Deegan is doing. He's going to prove himself and everybody wrong, himself right and everybody else wrong. So we're going in here to Paula, and again, the media hypes it all up, and they don't like each other, and I don't think that's the case. I think Jet's kind of being quiet. He doesn't really have a reason to poke at Deegan right now. Deegan has more of a reason to poke at Jet, right? So, but I think what we're seeing here is sort of a narrative that's being built into the cake, right? The rivalry, the one everybody's anticipating, right? Like the biggest UFC fight of the ages. So that's what we're going in, and that's what we're seeing. And I really think that if Jet doesn't understand that, if Jet doesn't know how to play into that, then and he's kind of going on the defense mode, because again, this is a show, right? We're gonna go. This is a race. We're gonna go see the race. This is for the fans, right? And we want to give fans a reason to root for you or a reason to boo for you. But no matter what, like Hayden Deegan, he's he brings in more electricity than all the other writers. And you can say, well, how's that possible? He has a lot more haters, right? But hate is an energy. Love is an energy, right? It doesn't matter if Hayden has a lot of haters or a lot of people who like him. The point is, you want both, because both, you have a positive and a negative, right? A positive charge and a negative charge equals a positive charge, right? And that's what you want. So, um, we really want to see Deegan, or we really want to see Jet kind of play into the hand, right? Kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to take this from this kid. I'm the king. I'm Jet Lawrence. I'm the best. I'm not going to allow this kid to come in and take my crown, at least right away. I'm going to defend it. And but we want to see those colors. We want to see it in the press conference, right? That's why I kind of like the old press conferences when they were all sitting next to each other, but they were a little bit more shy, a little bit more bashful. Because remember, these kids are young. Deegan's very mature for his age, and he's not afraid to say it. Um, because it's all about your self esteem, your self confidence in front of the camera. Millions of people are watching. So your sponsors are watching. You don't want to sound like a douche. You don't want to sound cocky, because the thing is, it's motocross, it's supercross. Anything can happen, right? I think the biggest fear for a lot of guys, the reason they don't play into that, like, oh, I'm going to beat you next week. Like, for example, my dream is to see a press conference where you have all, like, let's say you have four of the 250 guys, and they're all sitting there. It's a preseason um, teaser, right? And they're asking him questions. I want to see these guys look over and say, I'm going to beat this guy. Like, say it in some way, like, where it gives the fans a reason to watch. And again, most people don't do that because, like, for example, let's say Levi looked at Ryder DeFrancisco or Julian Bomer and said, I'm gonna beat your ass next week, and there's nothing you can do about it. He was in my way, and he almost made me crash, and I'm not gonna take that shit. And I'm gonna show him next week that ain't nobody gonna do that to me anymore. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, say something where it's like, whoa, like, no, no, he didn't. He did not just say that, right? And the reason guys don't do that is because they can't back it up. Where the difference is, Deegan can say it and he can know he could back it up. He sort of manifested it himself, right? And I think these guys were afraid to say things that was on their mind, because Levi and Deegan had a big rivalry, but Levi really never said anything. He was very nice and just kind of generic, and I don't know. Where's his balls at, man? Like, come on. I want to see some fight. I want to see you say, no, Dig, you're not going to do that. Like, don't just take him out. I want to see, what led to the takeout, right? But I think the reason he doesn't do that is because he knows that if he does that, then it's going to put even more pressure on him, and more pressure he doesn't need. And he shies away from that. And not just him, but all the guys do that. Even the best guys in the world, right? You don't see, Cooper Webb or Eli or Kenny or anybody kind of going there certain, maybe at some points, certain times. But I think, look, we don't want to turn it into a circus. We don't want to turn it into a Jerry Springer show. We don't want to turn it even into the UFC. But all I'm saying is we want a little bit more. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. Right? Even, these guys, like when Deegan was being funny and he's like, they're on the panel, right? And listen.
And how much has that sped up your development?
What do you mean?
Training with the Lawrences.
Oh, I don't train with them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nah, I train with these guys right here. Give these guys a smoke at the farm every day.
He's a WSX rookie, man.
See right there. I'm going to give these guys a smoke at the farm every day. You see that little comment right there? See, that's what we need more of in Supercross and motocross, right? I want to see a little bit more zestiness. I want to see a little bit more spiciness. I want to see a little bit more, even if you guys can't back it up. Like, even if you know the other guy's faster than you still got to give him a little bit of a punch, right? In the media briefing room. And maybe that would be enough, because you only manifest your own reality. So if you believe you can't do it, you can't do it. If you believe you can, right? So we want to see more of these because it's the Deegan only show. Deegan, he and I think Deegan would be even more aggressive than he already is in terms of talking and battling his opponents. Because again, it's all about giving people a reason to watch. And if you're a blank piece of paper, then it's just like watching two stick figures, go against each other. Like, where's the personality? Where's the feist, the spunk, right? It's too generic. And again, that's why even if you hate Deegan, at least appreciate the fact that he's bringing a little bit of spice to Supercross, because without him, it's boring, right? It's too plain Jane. We want to see more controversy. We want to see more trash talking. We want to see more, all of that stuff. And that's going to bring in a lot more fans. It's going to give people a reason to watch. So, anyways.
If you do talk crap, it turns into a defense. They go into defense mode. I'm like, bro, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
not marketing mode.
No.
Like, watch UFC if you want to see how it's done. Like, and then people are like, well, that's cheesy. We're racers. Well, you don't think fighters are fighters? You
and they end up hugging after the...
Like, watch UFC if you want to see how it's done. Like, and then people are like, well, that's cheesy. We're racers. Well, you don't think fighters are fighters? You
they end up hugging after the fight most of the time.
100%.
But they have to build the show.
Yeah.
Right, you have to build the show, exactly.
Like, is he the best fighter in the world? No, not right now. He probably was at one point, but he's still the highest paid dude.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because he's the best freaking shit talker, dude. He's the best. He knows how to market and run the machine. He's got the most fans. There's something there, right?
For sure.
And if we want the sport to stay where it's at, then let's just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think that, at least for me, right? Like, I have a level of like public facing. I talk shit.
So, anyways, yeah, I mean, you heard it from their mouth right there. These guys are basically trying to build up the narrative, build up the show, right? When they were going into SMX last year, Deegan, the media kind of narrated itself in a way. And so anyways, like this right here, like, look, he's making fun of Deegan. He's got a little kitchen thing on. Like memes, that's another thing we didn't even talk about. Memes are very powerful instruments. And I think, hitting little jabs there, a little like a little smirk there, a little press conference over there, a little meme over here. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It could just be a little bit. And all of that gets people going, right? Like, if we're going to see, I want to see, like, I don't know, like Levi Kitchen and Ryder D get into it. Like, I want to see Ryder D say, you know what, Levi? Next week, uh, I'm gonna mop the kitchen with you, or something, man. Just give me something here. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from, right? You know what I mean? Just give us a reason to watch is all I'm saying. And I think the Deegans figured that out, because that's how UFC is so popular, right? Because people have reasons to watch. So, even if we didn't have any of the drama, I would still watch it and I would still love it. But because I think the drama makes the racing better, right? Like kind of Deegan slowing down and block passing, holding him up, taking his line, kind of hitting them on the side, right? So there's a lot of things that are going on that lead up to that moment, and that's what we want to see. So, anyways, going to be exciting to watch. The problem is if Deegan wins Paula, they're going to say, oh, it was Jet's foot. If Jet wins Paula, they're going to say, oh, well, it's just because he's Jet. So no matter what happens, it's kind of going to be uh, sort of everyone's expectation. Like if Deegan wins, um, the expectation is like, well, because of Jet's foot. If Jet wins, they're gonna say, well, it's because he's Jet, right? So I really think Hunter is gonna be a little bit more of a challenge for Deegan, at least in the beginning, because of Jet's injury on his foot. That injury is really bad, right? I mean, your feet is everything when it comes to the bike. So I hope he is healthy. I hope he is strong because I want to see these gladiators go to war. I mean, this is a war. People that this isn't baseball, right? We're not throwing balls. We're throwing whips, right? We're not. This is not a one ball sport, right? Baseball, you got one ball. Football, you got one ball. Soccer, you got one ball. Well, why don't you try two balls? How about that? That's a real man sport. And this is what it's basically whoever can suffer the most wins, right? This is the most physically demanding, the most grueling sport in the history of all sports, except for UFC, right? Except for that. Those guys are literally going to war. But as far as the consequence is death, right? It's not like you're running up and down a basketball court, right? I mean, you're using muscles you never knew existed in your body. And you think, well, you're just twisting the throttle and you're going. No, you are literally wrestling a 250, 240 pound machine, and it's for 30 minutes and it's in the dead of summer and you have to do it twice. So it's so physically grueling. Like it's because the speeds are so high, right? When you twist that throttle, the bike wants to leave you behind it. So you have to grip it. And that grip, you can only hang on for so long until you start making mistakes. And then when you make mistakes, what happens? You get hurt. So it's not really who's the fastest guy all the time. It's who can survive the most, who can survive the longest. And so far, Justin Cooper is one of the guys that really hit all the races. He hasn't gotten hurt. He's hit all the races, which is very remarkable, very good for him. So, yeah, we'll see how pro motocross stacks up. I just really want to see good racing. I don't want to see a blowout. I want to see battles, right? And that's why I'm like, if I'm Deegan and I knew I'm better than the other guy, obviously you don't want to play around because you're in the 450 class. But if you know you're going to win, give the fans a little show, right? Don't just like, When you were battling Cole Davies, even though Deegan lost, it was still a really good race. Even if you're a Deegan fan, right? It was really a good race. And that's what we want. We want to see that. We want to see back and forth, right? Obviously, you don't want to play your luck too much and you don't want to orchestrate it, because this is racing. But you still want to make it interesting for the fans. And again, if Deegan wants to, because ultimately Deegan can't do this forever. So what is he going to do after? He's going to build his brand after. And if you want the best brand, you're going to have to bring in emotion, right? Brands are emotional, right? When you look at that Fox head logo, you feel nostalgic. You feel an emotional connection with that because of the legacy of that Fox head, what it represents, right? Or the Meta Militia head, right? You have that relationship. It's an emotional thing. So if you want to build into that, you have to create this story. And that's why I think like Ken Roxon, he had one of the best stories, and you can have a story where you're down in the dumps and then all of a sudden you're champion, right? There's many different versions of, or different stories people have. So it's going to be, like in Jet doing this right here. That's cool, right? He's making fun of him. And that's what we want, right? We want to see the little, uh, we want to see a little back and forth. So, um, anyways, I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. And yeah, let's see how it plays out. But again, I just want to commend the Deegans for what they brought to the sport and how their approach is, because you have MX Sports and Feld, and they're just kind of the status quo, which is fine. I like it, but we need a little bit more flavor, is what we're talking about, because we want to be able to tell the guys apart, right? We want to be able to see their personalities. And, that's why I think having his YouTube channel, you can see his personality. Now, like you see Jorge Prado has his YouTube channel, Cooper Webb has his YouTube channel, because I think they're learning from Deegans and understanding that this can be bigger, bigger than your sponsorships, bigger than your salary, because you're building your brand, right? Your name is what's making the money, right? Is your name. So, continue to build, continue to work, and we're gonna see these two guys go at it. Obviously, um, they got a little bit of an age difference, but not really that much. Um, and don't count out Hunter either. Don't count out Hunter. And I really want to see Eli do well. I mean, to me, a perfect season is these two battling for wins, Hunter as well. But then also, you can't go without a season without a beast mode for Tomac, right? Where everybody's kind of like, hanging out, doing their pace, and then Tomac's back in 12th place, and then 2 minutes to go, all of a sudden he's trying to beat Lawrence for the lead, and I'm like, whoa. So, anyways, there's nothing he wants more than to beat Jet, because Jet is the king right now, and he wants to prove himself, and he's gonna run his machine, his social media machine, his branding machine, his mental machine, his trash talking. He's gonna run it all, right? To try to get in this guy's head. And the best advice I have for Jet is to just go with it. Go with it. Go with it. Right? Because as soon as you start shying away, as soon as you start just ignoring it, you're going to let it get to you. Instead of, I would embrace it. Jet knows it's coming. So if I'm Jet, I would embrace it and I would go twofold, right, on him. So let's see how it all plays out. Can't wait to watch it.